the Thanksgiving games last year have been renamed Madden Celebration, and I know a lot of folks who are growing up think oh yeah, he's the video game guy, or he was the guy who was on NBC with Al, and he was a CBS guy first. And I'm wondering if you've got a good Madden story at all for when you were starting out and you met him, or when you were, already a long-time CBS veteran. Anything Madden-related story time.
I mean, first off, he was CBS first, and by far he was CBS the most.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at his longevity, until that year, in December of '93, when we lost the NFC package, on that fateful day of December 17th, 1993, and we knew we were going to be out of the NFL business, and that's when, of course, John went in another direction. There was a lot of time for all of us to spend with John. I got to do sidelines one time in my career. I wasn't very good at it, but it was in 1987, and I did it with Pat and John, which was obviously it's memorable now. I'm going back so many years, 30-something years ago, 36 years ago.
Wow.
I was scared out of my mind going to a production meeting with him, but he was always very generous. And as life would move on, I moved to Pebble Beach, California,
mm-hmm.
and John lived in Pleasanton, California, up in the East Bay. But he had a home right off Ocean Avenue in Carmel by the Sea, which was 1 mile from my house. And I didn't get to see him as much as I should have, but I saw him on occasion for breakfast, cup of coffee, a walk. This is going to sound really bizarre because I was intimidated by him, and he was not an intimidating guy. That's the last thing he would want anybody to ever feel, because he certainly didn't try to admit anything to you that made you feel uncomfortable. But he was just so big, and I had so much respect and appreciation for him. Look, my job has taken me everywhere. I've been in the company of a number of presidents. I've had a dinner sitting at the same table as the Queen of England. These are all things that I never deserved, but somehow they landed in my lap. But when I was around John, I just never quite broke through that barrier of being in awe of him, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
And he's the most normal guy ever. But I just think it speaks to my love, respect, and appreciation for him. I looked up to him so much. I lived a mile from him. I wish in retrospect, I wish I had seen him 3 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he would have wanted me 3 days a week, but he was a hang guy. John was never in a hurry. He never tied his shoelaces. He walked around with sneakers with his shoes untied.
Really?
He didn't like to be pinned down. People would say to him, "Hey, your shoes untied." Yep. They didn't know that's how he wanted to operate. He never wanted to break up the hang. I just, you get older in life, you think, I should have handled that relationship a little bit better. Man, he was good to me. I wish I had more time with him. It was there. I know it was there if I had a little more self-confidence in that relationship. Never said that to anybody before, but as I'm just sitting here opening up my mind to it, man, he was just an amazing guy. And I loved to watch the way he interacted with people. People would approach him, and he had time for everyone. And he was a man of the people. Who wouldn't want to aspire to be that, where everybody could relate to him? And I did too. I just had a certain level of admiration that was so high that it made me not natural in communicating with him, because I just looked up to him so much.
Well,
hope that makes sense.
It does,
That's
Jim.
what's in my heart.
1,000,000%. And I love that you share that with me and the group here and the audience. And just know this: you are in a position. What a position to be in, sitting there in a booth and in the Metroplex on a Thanksgiving in front of that monster audience, being able to tell folks of a different generation about Madden and keep his legacy alive. That's in your hands, and that it's going to be amazing for you and the Madden celebration. So that's a pretty
It's big. I will say
heady.
two more things.
thing.
Number one, yeah. Well, I got to be the voice of the Madden game. I believe it was 5 years, and at the time it was the longest run anyone had.
Mm-hmm.
And Phil and I did it together, and it meant a lot to lend a voice to that. And you're right. Most people think it's about the video game, and his record as a coach, which was so short-lived, and his win percentage was off the charts, 100 wins. I mean, very few losses. What he did to motivate and inspire his players and how they reacted to him years later is pretty special. But Sandy Montag was John's. Well, he started out like working for John and went on the road with him.
Mm-hmm.
Then he became his manager and agent, and Sandy's been my manager and agent on the broadcasting side for decades now. And he would always be kind of a go-between. Hey, John wants to see you for breakfast at Katie's place in Carmel, or John this or that. And I think he probably understood that it was unnatural for me to feel like I could reach out. I was shy, and that's the bottom line. But when it came to Thanksgiving Day, Sandy would always say, hey, before you go on the air today, give John a call. Give John a call. So Tony and I did that. And I think Phil and I did it too. So whatever, I've done the Thanksgiving Day games now for several decades. Every year, Detroit, then Dallas, then Detroit, then Dallas. Mm-hmm. And I used to make that phone call on Thanksgiving Day from the booth, wish him happy Thanksgiving, because I knew how much it meant to him. At Sandy's urging, and I'd get up the nerve to be able to call his cell phone and say, hey, John, thinking of you today. He was great. I mean, he watched everything. Mm-hmm. He didn't miss any game on any network. He was all in on the NFL. And in the end, great coach, Hall of Famer, legendary legacy with his video game. But he might have been, when it's all said and done, you add up all the parts, the greatest ambassador the league ever had. He stood for the good things in the game. And again, everybody related to him. Players, the coaches, the media, and especially the fans. He was their voice, and he was the man of the people. So Thanksgiving should belong to him.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.